10 key elements for successful investor's pitch. Essentially, investor pitching is describing, introducing your business idea, your project idea to the listeners, often to the investors, verbally. Pitches are a certain type of public speeches. The aim of the pitch is often to gain the collaboration of the investors, to receive either their funding, their support. It's also when you compete in business competitions or when you apply to incubators or accelerators. This is when you want to convince the audience, the investors, the decision makers, the jury, that your business, your team has what it takes. There are very different types of pitches. Sometimes they are very short, sometimes they are longer. They can be from half a minute to 1 minute, and these very, very short pitches are called elevator pitches. It's just to very quickly introduce your business idea. It can be longer, it can be 3 to 5 to 7 minutes. Then you have more time to introduce your business model. Or they can be even longer, 10 to 15 minutes. So always make sure you know what type of pitch it is, what are the expectations, what is the listeners, the jury or the investors looking for, what are the key elements they want to hear from. Just remember that whether it is very short pitch or slightly longer pitch, it's never enough time to introduce every single detail of your company. It's impossible. The aim of the pitch is not tell your audience everything about your business or your project, but it is about creating interest. It's about getting second meeting to the investor. Never forget that. Essentially, there's 3 criteria if your pitch was successful. Investors are looking for 3 things. Firstly, do I remember you after the pitch? Secondly, do I remember anything about your project, your idea, your concept? And thirdly, do I want to give you more of my time? Do I want to have a second meeting? If you tick all those 3 elements, you've done a good job. The investor pitch or sales pitch is very, very short. So never improvise. Good companies who go in front of investors never improvise in front of them. It's not that I'm going there and I'm going to see how it goes. No. You have so short time and so much information to say, so it is very well practiced. It is very well thought through. Every word, every argument, every slide, you have to practice many, many times. And if you want to add another information there, you have to take something else out. So always bear that in mind, that you have to be prepared and it has to be done very, very well, because you might only have one chance with that investor. And it might depend on that particular pitch if you get that investment or not. Even though the pitches differ in time and type, there are usually 10 key elements that pitches involve. So let's go through all of them. The first thing is teaser. It's the way to gain attention of the listeners. Usually it's done through telling your personal story or an interesting story, or giving your audience some staggering, surprising fact. It's getting your audience listen you carefully from the very first second. The second very important element is problem. You have to state the problem first. What kind of a problem are you solving? This can be a global problem of a climate warming or waste and pollution or access to water, or it can be a personal problem of your customer, something that they feel every day. But if there is no problem that you want to fix, then the investors will ask, who will ever buy your product? Who will ever be your customer? The third part is offering solution. It's the most important part because in very, very short time, you have to very clearly explain what is your business, your idea, your project, your organization about. It's often the problem that people explain and you still don't get it. If an investor at that moment doesn't understand what exactly are you offering, then everything that follows is useless. So make sure you very clearly think through of how to explain in very short time, in half a minute or minute maximum, of what is your business idea actually about, why it is unique, and how does it work. Fourth part is market. Investor wants to always know where would that kind of a product or service fit into? How many people want that kind of a service or product? How much money is circulating in that particular market? So you have to explain that. Is it a market where you have already lots of other people working, or it's something new? Are you going into developed market, or you are creating a new market? Be clear about that. The fifth part is explaining your business model. So you have now explained your solution, your product, your service. You explained how much money there is and how much people there are on the market. So now you have to clearly show how your company will get that money off the market. How basically you are earning your incomes. Is it freemiums? Are you giving it for free and then giving advertisement? Are you selling it one by one? How exactly are you planning to get your revenue? No man is an island. You're not the only player on the market. We always want to think that we have the most unique product or unique service. But someone from 7 billion people on this earth probably has thought of this before. So it's very important to talk about competition. Who else is operating on the market? And you have to not only describe them, saying we have lots of competitors, but how do you differ from them? Are you better than them? Or are you innovating part of your products and service so that you create new elements and you add value to your product and service that your competitors do not? The seventh important part is channels. How do you plan to get your product and service to your customers? It's often very difficult to get your product in the shops. So are you going to talk to every shop owner? Or are you going to create an online shop? Are you going to get to your customers through retail, or you're going to do it through social media? So you have to be clear about the channels and the marketing plan, how to get your message across to the wider audience. 8, the most important part, it's the team. People invest into teams. You have to show that you are credible. Remember, ethos. You have to show that this is the team that has the skills, that has what it takes, that has the passion to take that business into future and be successful. You don't have to explain, you don't have to introduce every single member separately, but what you have to do is to show that together as a team, you have necessary competences and experience. 9. Now you have described your product, you've told about the problems that customers have and what kind of solutions you offer. Now we have to talk about money. Never forget that every convincing speech ends with call for action. This is it. You have to tell investors how much money you expect from them, Maybe you want not money, maybe you want contacts, maybe you want some services, maybe you want some advice. Be clear about that. And if you want money, you have to be clear what kind of money you want, what kind of terms, what kind of agreement you're ready to make, and also what would you use that money on. Nobody just wants to throw money on something. So be clear what you want, and remember that takes us back to the strategic communication. Always before you go in front of other people, know exactly what do you want from them. And finally, the 10th part is milestones. Every successful pitch ends with explaining shortly of where you are with your product. Is it just a concept, just an idea, and you're just in the very beginning? Or you have already made some steps, maybe you're already selling something, maybe you have a beta version on the market, maybe you have already received some support from other investors. So you have to already be clear where you are in the process, what is the next few steps, where you want to be in a week, in a month, in a year. Don't forget that every pitch ends with a question and answers. So the listeners, the investors, have often the opportunity to ask you additional questions and use that wisely. Don't be afraid. Questions can be very, very difficult, but this is really important because it means that the investors are interested in what you had to say. I recommend you to browse internet. Go to YouTube and you will see hundreds of fantastic pitches and even more really bad pitches. Go and look at them. Look what people do differently. We have also included some of good and bad practices in our link sections. Don't forget that even though you had many, many elements in a successful pitch, by the end of the day, the two most important things that any investor is looking for is the uniqueness of your idea, the innovative potential of your solution, and secondly, the team. The team, the people that the investor feels can take this idea to a successful conclusion. Thank you for watching the Public Speaking and Investor Pitch online course. I hope it was useful and you found some practical suggestions and recommendations for your future. You will find more links and videos and materials below, and don't forget to take the test so you would see if you remember all the tips correctly. Enjoy.